Or it can be hard because you've paid the price. And paying the price is hard. But if you'll pay the price to become valuable, then your options become unlimited. Ever since I was a little dude, I wanted to be a fighter pilot. And in 1992, I was an ROTC cadet at BYU, studying to become a fighter pilot. I was paying my own way. I was working hard. And one day I walked into the ROTC building, and a staff member said, "You're not going to be a fighter pilot." I looked at him and I said, "Why not?" He said, "The Air Force has cut the number of pilot training slots from 1,000 a year down to about 100. I looked him in the eye and I said, "I don't care if they only choose one. As long as they choose one, it's going to be me." And about a year later, I was awarded a scholarship for being the top pilot candidate in the nation. Now, you might be saying, "Well, that's great." But let me explain something to you. The people who know me best would say I'm not smart enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not good looking enough. And yet, I made up my mind that I would become the best at what I did. So when somebody tells you that you can't do what you want to do, look them in the eye and say there's always room at the top for the best. Then, all you have to do is be the best at what you do, and there will be a place for you. I'd like to illustrate with an example. In 2003, I was part of an elite group of Air Force pilots who flew the B-2 stealth bomber. We were tasked with taking down Saddam Hussein's regime in Iraq. Flying 36-hour nonstop missions, we flew from Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, across the Atlantic to downtown Baghdad, some of the most heavily defended airspace on the planet. Using stealth technology and precision weapons, we targeted high-value command centers, headquarters, and other targets. I still remember how Baghdad looked as we approached from high altitude. It looked a lot like this. The lights were still on. It looked like Kansas City, Missouri, or St. Louis, or Phoenix, or Rexburg, except for that smoke drifted across those lights, creating an eerie glow from the combat that raged beneath us. Although we had left 18 hours prior, we arrived to the target within 1 minute of our assigned time. Pilots on the nights before and the nights after this mission reported surface-to-air missiles, but this night, we didn't see any of that. We released 14 2,000-pound precision weapons on several targets in and around Baghdad. And I'll tell you something right now. When people tell you that stealth works, for you guys, that's great. But when you're flying in the missile zone, you're really thinking about, does this really work? So as we traversed the target area and came home, everything worked like clockwork. Really, it was nearly an uneventful mission, almost routine. We returned home 36 hours after we departed, and we were undetected by the enemy and unscathed. The stealth bomber and the pilots who fly it are truly the best in the world at what they do. I'd like to talk a little bit about what it takes to become the best in the world. That's the secret I want you to take away tonight. A lot of people have the misunderstanding that execution is the key to excellence. And while execution is an important part of it, it's only a small part. Let me illustrate with one of my passions. I'm passionate about pizza. I love pizza, right? I can tell there's a few of you here who also love pizza, but in my case, it's kind of an obsession. And believe it or not, I try to be the best in the world at making pizza. Now, one day I was talking to a guy who owns his own pizzeria, and I asked him a question. "Are you going to the expo?" He looked at me. The expo, just so you guys know, is a place where thousands of independent pizzeria owners gather every year to share best practices, to learn, to improve their businesses, to grow their top line, to improve their bottom line, but most importantly, to learn management principles that will help them have better lives because they won't be stuck as slaves in their own businesses. This guy said to me, I can't go to some expo. I'm too busy making pizza. That's a classic example of execution mode. The guy is stuck in execution mode. Execution alone doesn't work because it robs you of the chance to learn from your experience. So how did we do it in the Air Force? What's the secret? We had a very simple model. Plan, execute, debrief. Let me illustrate by discussing a little more detail about that 36-hour mission I flew. 24 hours prior to takeoff, a crew of numerous pilots, weather people, intelligence officers, etc., spent planning this mission. They worked around the clock in shifts to plan every detail from the targets to the weapons to the threats, headings, altitudes, frequencies, country clearances, and 1,000 other details that I can't remember. Actually, the planning started way before that. It started back in 1992 when I was that ROTC cadet who made up my mind that I'd be the best in the world at what I did. After the 24-hour planning period's over, we have the execution phase. In our case, 36 hours. We took off from Whiteman, which is in the heartland of America, flew all the way to Baghdad and all the way back. During that time, we had no fewer than 5 aerial refuelings. Now imagine 2 crew members working together for 36 hours in the air and having to refuel under a tanker, both flying at 300 miles an hour, 24,000 feet, with minor variations in our positioning. As we took on that fuel, it's exhausting. By the end of this mission, we had been on the job for 40 hours straight. Now, what would you want to do after being on the job for 40 hours straight? You go home, right? You want to go home. We wanted to go home pretty badly. But we spent the next 2 hours after landing in a debrief. And in the debrief, we answered 5 questions. What happened? What went right? What went wrong? Why? And what can we learn from this? Let me show you what that debrief looks like on a pie graph, because I think no TED Talk would be complete without a pie graph. So here's your pie graph, and what you see is that 58% of the time was spent in the execution phase. And whatever other numbers up there, 39% planning. And 3% of the time was spent in the debrief. But that 3% makes all the difference. That's where the learning takes place. That's where the improvement happens. So, how do you debrief? Well, the first step is to ask, what happened? Now, in the what happened phase, it sounds simple, but it's really not. It's really actually difficult because our nature is that we want to defend ourselves. We want to blame somebody else for what's gone wrong. And so we walk right into a situation where we're just trying to deconstruct what happened here. And somebody becomes defensive. So this what happened phase gives us a chance to reconstruct the events objectively. We're not trying to place blame or judgment. We just list out in order what we did. Then we ask the question, what went right? We want to keep doing those things, right? So we record that. We want to get good at it. What went right? Next, what went wrong? Well, this is a really important question. But once again, if you'll notice, it doesn't say who screwed up. It's really easy to say who screwed up. But it's really important that we not do that because what went wrong gives us a chance to break down the next question, why? And once again, it doesn't say who, it says why. Why did that go wrong? If we can do that, we can get to a root cause, identify what's called a lessons learned, and roll that back into our planning cycle. So, before the next aircrew took off for their combat mission in Iraq, our lessons learned were already incorporated into the planning cycle so that the next pilots benefited from anything we saw that might have helped them and incorporate improvements in my flying, but also in the planning and the flying of those around me.
Hello. Hello. Good evening, all. Good evening. If you can hear me, type in yes, please. If you can hear me, please type in yes. If you can hear me, please type in yes. If you can hear me, please type in yes. Can hear me, please type in yes so that we can start off. Okay, so I don't know if any of you was listening or watching the clip that I was watching. Was anybody watching it? Or was anybody watching and hearing it at the same time? If you were watching the clip or listening to it, just type in clip. Let me know so that I can post the link so that you can at your own private time continue watching it. Okay, so let me post the link so you can take your time to continue watching it because it still had some few minutes. Maybe you can watch it all over again, and it's very, very helpful. As in, I learned something from it. If you know any other thing, the why aspect, you need to know why, what went wrong. And so at the end of the day, where does it imply in trading? At the end of the day, you're supposed to look at your trades and find out what did you do right, what went wrong and why, and try to improve on it so that you'll be better every passing day. So that said, let's get into our trade for our preview for tomorrow. So you're welcome to plan your trade your plan preview for 30th of May 2019. That's against tomorrow. So this night, early this morning from 2:30, we are going to have building approvals, and those are high impact news. 3 a.m. on AUDUSD. 3 a.m. we're going to have New Zealand annual budget release. Then the Swiss francs, the Swiss bank holiday, Euro French bank holiday, German bank holiday. That means the Euro session might be a big dull tomorrow. Then in the afternoon around 1:30, we have USD prelim GDP. That's just it for tomorrow. Apart from the AUD news coming in the next few hours, that's 2:30, 3 p.m. Then we have the USD news coming in later tomorrow, as around 1:30. So that side, let's go over our charts and find out what we have for today. What we have for today so that it can help us plan for tomorrow. So looking at our chart, we're looking at the dollar index. So we'll go over to the daily chart. We'll go over to the daily chart. Well, the dollar index, like I said, closed bullish. Still has its bullish bias. But right now, it's running into a supply area. As you can see, that said, excuse me, let me see now. I'm supposed to have a second chart here. Supposed to have a second chart here. Okay, yes, there's a chart I'm looking for. There's a chart I'm looking for. Okay, there's a chart I'm looking for. So look at the dollar index from the daily perspective. You can see he's still closed bullish, but he's into a resistance area. As you can see, if we go over to this my chart here, you can see it just tapped into this area. Let me use a horizontal, let me use a line to pick the area properly so that you guys can see the value. It should be here, yes. That area is 98.21, and the upper part of that area is 98.37. So if we go down to the 4-hour to look at it, we can see it's having a pin bar kind of formation. Having a pin bar kind of formation. So as you can see, price broke out from this level. If you remember, if you were here yesterday, I said if it breaks to the top side, do you see the retest, break, retest, and continued movement up? If you drop down to the 1 hour, something interesting happened here. Do you see this leveled area? You see when price made this resistance, it dropped. Do you see the retest and the move up into this area? So you need to be aware of where price is. So you're not just trading the candlesticks alone, you're trading structure and patterns in the market. Because somebody who didn't know, who is only trading bear and bullish candle, would have sold not knowing the person is selling into a support area. And before you know it, the price would have turned on the person. So like right now, where price is, it may likely move up. Most likely, because if you look at this place was prior resistance, as you can see. So price broke above it, and it's now serving as support. That area comes in at 98.12. So if price does not go below this area, there's a tendency it might move higher into this place, because for now, the dollar index has a bullish bias. It has a bullish bias. It's making series of higher highs and higher lows. So he's not in any way bearish. So that aside, so we can see from our markup levels, let me see. Okay. So you can see from our markup levels, our price has broken above this place, just like I was showing in the other chart. So hello, can you all still hear me? If you can still hear me, type yes. Hello. Hello. Can you all still hear me? My network tripped off. It's raining on my end, so it's kind of like affecting my network. Hello, can you all still hear me? Hello, if you can hear me, please type in yes. Okay, so let's continue. The network, I'm picking up my MT4 tripping on and off, so seems I'm having a bit of a network. I'm using my backup network. My major network, just for reasons I can't explain, just decided to pack up. So I'm using my backup network now, and that one seems also to be having a bit of a challenge. So let's continue. So let me see. So looking at dollar index currently is the dollar index Hello. Please, sorry for the interruption. It's the network on my end. My two networks, I'm using the backup. The backup is not, doesn't seem to be delivering today. It's misbehaving. But that notwithstanding, let me still try and continue. If you can't hear me, just type in no audio, so I know what to do. But if you can hear me, just type in yes. It's really disturbing. If you can hear me, just type in yes, so that I know I'm still with you guys, so that we can continue. Okay. Okay, so let me continue. So now the dollar index for now has a bullish bias. It has a tendency to pull up towards this area. That is provided it stays above here, but it may carry out something like this tomorrow. It may drop a bit and move back up. You understand? This is an impulse. It might engage in a correction and then move back up, but I can't say it's until tomorrow. But that is a possibility of what might happen on this pair tomorrow. So that aside, the next pair we look at is gold. And looking at gold from a daily point of view, you can see this moving average is still keeping a lead on gold. You can see gold rallied and came back down again. So that's knowing that, we go over to my zone chart. If I go over to my zone chart, you can see gold rallied into this place and dropped. Remember this area of yesterday? This is where I said if gold can't go below it, it's going to go up. So this area held, went up, ran into this resistance, now back to this support. So the same scenario is going to play out. If this area is not broken, if gold can't go below it, it might most likely go back up. As you can see, it's kind of like ranging between these two areas. Let me go to the 4 hour first. I like looking at it from the 4 hours, so I can see a lot of things clearly. You can see, and right now we have a rising support here. As you can see, I have a rising support, and I think we have a falling trend line. Let me see. Somewhere here. I say we have a falling trend line somewhere here. So this is what we have now for gold. So a break below will send it lower, and a break above might send it higher. So that is what we have for gold now. So looking at that, I go down to my mark support and resistance. Basically still the same thing. Oh, sorry for that. Basically still the same thing. This area that was resistance is now playing out as support. That is 12.83.3. So as you can see, and then we have this trend line here. So I would need to get rid of this falling resistance line. If I get rid of it, then switch over to my 4 hour time frame so I can see things a bit clearly. Then when I do that, I will just have to, somewhere here. So still the same thing. So gold didn't actually do that much breaking out of any major levels. Let me get rid of this. So this is just what we still have on gold. The levels on gold are still holding. So that aside, the next pair we'll move over to is the USDCHF. And looking at the USDCHF, just like I said yesterday, these two moving averages, you can see we kept the lead on price. Price could not move above them. But if you look at this USDCHF from a daily point of view, we can see that price has made a lower low here, a lower high, and it has made a lower low. So most probably, this pair is in a sort of a downtrend. It's just gearing up. It's just gearing up. What we might see is probably an impulse down. So that being said, I go down to my zoning chart. As you can see, price is already reacting from this area. Price is already reacting from this area. So basically, we might just see a move down. We might see a move down tomorrow. Let me pick up this channel. There's a channel here. Then there's one here. So this is just basically what we have. And then there is a rising trend line somewhere here. So that's just what we have on this pair. So if it doesn't go above this area here, most likely, if it breaks this trend line, it's coming down lower. So that's what we need to factor in on this pair. And if you notice, just like what I've said, this is a move down, this is a move down, this is the correction. So you can expect maybe the same thing within this channel down. So I'll go over to my levels of support and resistance. Just like I said, you can see what we said yesterday. If he comes into this place, he's going to move up, and that's just precisely what he has done. The levels are still holding. And this peg levels are just basically still holding. There is nothing new to add to this pair. Just what I've done there, make sure I have the same thing here. And that's just it. These are resistance, these are supports. Below here, it's coming down here. Above here, it may move higher. So that's just it for USDCHF. The next pair we'll be looking at is the EURUSD. Looking at the EURUSD from a daily perspective is in a support area. As you can see, although he closed bearish, he is down in a support area. So I move down to this my chart to get a clearer view. You can see it's pretty a deep area. The area is pretty deep. So he's currently in a support area. I was looking at him from, he's currently in a support area. And if you remember, the dollar index is below a resistance. And the EURUSD now is in a support area. So let me see, I might need to adjust this a bit. Let me adjust it a bit to accommodate this low here. Okay. Then I think I might need to also work on this line. Just it a bit. So yep. Yep. Then bring this down a bit. Okay. So we're good. And this level, need to adjust it so that you guys can get the proper level on the zoom. So this is it. So this is what we have on this pair. It's sitting above a support level. And see, here, here, here. There might be the tendency it may move up tomorrow. So that I can't say until tomorrow. So if we look at this pair now, sitting at this support area, you can see broke this trend line, retested and dropped from there. So this looks like an impulse. We might likely see a correction tomorrow because overall, this pair still seems to be in a sort of downward trend slash ranging position. So that's just what we have on this pair. Let me get rid of this. So this is your support zone between 1.1313 and 1.1111. So this is support zone. This is a resistance area up here. Let me see. I'm on the 4 hour, yes. I'm on the 4 hour. I think I have something here. I have something here. Yes. I have a resistance zone in here. I have a resistance zone in here. And mark that. So 1183 to 1198. I have a resistance zone here, and I have a smaller one here. I have a smaller one here. I have a smaller one here first. So let me take care of all this. So these are the resistance zones on this pair. These are the resistance zones on this pair. So if he takes off, this is first resistance, then second resistance. So and I think there's a 4-hour time frame. There's also a falling trend line. Yep, I have a falling trend line on this pair. So since the Euro USD has his entire village people waiting for him tomorrow, so he has to cross all this on his way up. So let's just see what happens. But bear in mind, the overall trend is still slightly to the downside. So you can see it drops, it goes back up, it drops. So he might just try to go back up tomorrow. So that being said, the next pair we go over to is the GBPUSD. So looking at the GBPUSD from a daily point of view, it closed bearish. It closed bearish. My concern is these three candles, the way they are lined up. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at. I've seen this pattern before, but when I normally see it, there is always a big bullish candle. That's my concern. And after these three candles, you always see one very big bullish candle move away. So that's my concern here. But let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. Closed bearish. Still closed bearish. Let me check it on my zone chart. Bearish deep into his zone. I need to adjust this. I need to adjust this to accommodate. Let's adjust this way. Doesn't look like as if it is drowning. So bring this down. Bring this down a bit. Okay. So it's in this support area. Should it go below here, this support, then his next level, it has support kind of like here. Let me make this a bit thicker. It has support here, and seems to have support here. Excuse me. So, these are just his support levels. And as you can see, it's clearly sitting. You know, this blue one, I just drew it now. So let me get rid of this one here. So we can see where price is currently above. Where price is currently above. And if we look at this on the 4-hour, this is a harami. This is a harami. We have a harami here. So that points to further up move. This is a bullish harami. Points to further up move on this pair. So let me go into my chart to find out what levels I have. If I need to reduce the levels. So looking at this pair, he's just sitting above this support. Just sitting there. So the levels are basically still holding. We have resistance here. We have resistance here. We have resistance. This support. This support. So just basically still holding. The next pair I'll be looking at is the EURGBP. If I look at the EURGBP, this EURGBP has refused to give up. And he's, if you notice, wicks to the top, wicks to the bottom, indecision candles. The same thing is playing out on most of the GBP pairs. High impact fluctuations. Hello, can you all still hear me? If you can hear me, please type in yes, please. It's raining heavily on my end, so I need to be sure I'm still talking with you guys. If you can hear me, please type in yes. Okay. So, these fluctuations, I can't say. It will only start to drop if we get a move below 87, 82. As for it on the daily, this is a daily close. You can see how the daily close is. This is the second day of the do I call this doji or spinning form? Like a doji or spinning form. That's what I might call it. So I go over to my zoom chart. I go over to my basically just see, as you can see, it's just crazy move. Up, down, down, up, down, down, up. That's just what he has been successfully doing since today. So these are the levels he needs to break. If this level gives you, it's coming down here. But for now, he's still basically ranging. They've not made up their mind yet. They've not made up their mind yet. So with that, I go down to the EURGBP to look at my leveling. The level is still holding. This is what we did yesterday. It's not gone up, it's not come down, it's just holding in between. So the best thing for this pair is to wait for it either at these highs or lows. If you're taking a trade in between, you need to be careful because they can turn on you at any time. The next pair I'll be looking at is the GBPCHF. And the GBPCHF, you see, is almost looking like the EURGBP, as you can see. It's almost looking like the EURGBP. So they almost look alike in a way. They almost look alike in a way. Like I always tell people, if you must trade any GBP pair, you must have an idea of what the EURGBP is doing. If you do not have an idea of what the EURGBP is doing, you might have a little challenge trading the GBP crosses. So as you can see, basically still the same thing. Like kind of like we'll say this is a kind of a hammer but with a long lower wick. A doji but with a long lower wick. So this shows buying pressure here. So there's a possibility that this may move higher. So go down to our chart on the GBPCHF. If you look at it, nothing new, just nothing new. Kind of like ranging. Kind of like ranging. We have a small resistance zone here. I have a small resistance zone here. I have a resistance zone here. Oh, and I'm not supposed to draw this here. I'm not supposed to draw this. This is my zone chart. I'm supposed to be drawing this here. So, and it's already there. You can see it's already there. So on this chart, I need to get rid of this line. So this is just basically what we have. Support, resistance. But if this level should give way, I need to find the next level of support for this pair. The next level of support for this pair is coming in here. Coming in at this level. Next level of support should be coming in somewhere here. Here. Then finally I have here and here. So these are just levels of support on this pair. Should this level here give way. I need to get rid of this one because it has somebody there. So this is what we have on this pair for now. This is what we have. So the next pair we'll be looking at, so the GBPCHF is still ranging like the Euro and GBP. So now we look at the Euro AUD, the AUD USD, Aussie dollar. And if you can see, this 13 on the daily is still capping price, but 69.16 is still acting as support. As you can see, at no time have they closed below this level. They might go down below it, but they will always make sure they close back above it. So for now, this man is a range. Let me go into my zone chart to see if I have him at anywhere. Well, I think it's trying to fall out of this area. That's what it seems like. It's trying to fall out of this area. So go down to my support and resistance chart. So basically this is it. Key resistance zone 96, 69, 32. Key support 6907. So that's just it. But if you watch, those of you that understand, I don't know, I can't remember the name of this, but this is a flag, this is a pool, this looks like the flag, and we may be seeing something like this. We may be seeing something like this movement. That's this length this way, given by the way they are moving sideways. I may be wrong, but from the way they are posting out, it's like they are going sideways. As you can see, this is an impulse, and this is like a sideways correction, which will go for flag and pull and flag. So the next pair we'll be looking at is the USDJPY. Looking at USDJPY. My network is having a bit of a challenge. Seems they've caught up with me. There's network here. Yep, so it's back. So if we look at this from a daily, as we can see, if we can see, there's something here, pretty interesting. There's something here. Let me show it to you. Oh, I can't seem to find where, okay, it's back. Okay. If you notice, 109.29 is key support. If you watch all the moving averages, if you watch price, it has never closed below that level. Do you see? And this might be looking like a quasi double bottom. The close of today engulfed the previous day's close. So if you look at this, you have, this is a bullish piercing, this is a bullish engulfing. So there is a possibility this pair might be going up tomorrow. There is a possibility. So with that, I go over to my AUDUSD, and as you can see already, he held this support and he's now challenging this trend line that they broke. Let me get rid of this. So the move back above this trend line, might see him come into this area. But he has also this falling trend line to contend with. So I go down to my marked up chart. Let me see what I have on my support and resistance. So the support held is now trying to take out this resistance area. And so don't forget we have a falling trend line here. I have a falling resistance trend line. The next pair we're looking at is Euro Yen. And looking at the Euro Yen, 12208 Yes, this level is very important. So I may be wrong. I may be wrong. Well, I think what they've 12208. I think what they've done is they've created the trap mode here. They've created the trap mode. Let's go to the. I'll show you what I'm trying to talk about. Let's go to this my zone. You can see last 4-hour candle closed as a bullish engulfing. This zone is pretty big. Pretty big. I think I need to look into it maybe by tomorrow. But this is a pretty big supply zone, that demand zone that price is currently at, and the last 4-hour close as engulfing. So, but there's now something I need you to see. It's on the daily time frame. I hope I have not deleted it. Let me show it to you so that you understand what might be happening on the euro yen. The euro yen may be engaging for a long-term push north. Oh, that's not what I meant. Just bear with me. Okay, so this is what I want you guys to see. If we look at this pair, price broke below 12209. That was the level I was trying to find out. And this trend line here, it seems as if price retested it at this point. But this is something I want you guys to see. My mouse too. Since network is affecting my mouse too. My mouse is misbehaving. So this is what I want you guys to see. You see this channel? You see this channel? Then look at this point. One, let's logically, these first 2 points will not count it. Two is 1, 2, and 3. So we might see a situation where price might close above here. So you might see something like this tomorrow. You might see something like break, retest, and move. That's just the position it's taking. So for this pair, oh, sorry about this. For this pair, we have support here. I have this S1 and this S1. Should S1 give way or first support zone? Should the first support zone give way? Wow. The next support is some distance down. The next support is some distance down. As there is almost okay. We have here. We have something here. We have support here, and we have support here. That's support here. That's support here. So now look at this place, but let's leave it for now. So just in case this level breaks, so these are the levels lower you're looking at that price will find support. But for now, price is gearing up. So this bounce from here might extend higher tomorrow. So the next pair I'll be looking at is the pound yen. Looking at the pound yen, this is a daily time frame. This looks like I think this is either a tombstone or a dragonfly doji. And it has a long lower wick. It has a slightly longer lower wick, which indicates, although this candle is red, which will be bearish, it is under the control of the bull. It has a more bullish bias than bearish. So I go down to my zone chart. As you can see, if you notice, bearish engulf, bullish engulfing. This looks like railway track, or a bullish piercing pattern. So what you have here is bullish reversal patterns back to back. That's what you're having on the GBP. Yeah. So I go down to my support and resistance charting. You can see it didn't go up, it broke down. So I'll get rid of this line and update my support. Update my support to include here. Update the support level to include this point. So this support 138.02, which is almost a psychological figure, it's a round number. Then the first resistance comes in at 138.96. So there's a potential that price may touch this place. There is a potential price may touch it. The next pair I'll be looking at is the EURAUD. Looking at the EURAUD, if you look at it, you can see it closed bearish, but it is at this level here. So, but we might see a move lower because now it has closed below its 13 on the daily. So if I go down to the EURAUD on my macro and see this level here has been a kind of support. So a close below here will bring price into this level, except we get a bit of a correction higher, then we move down. So let me go back to my chart, go back to my marked up chart. You can see this trend line has been broken and price is currently at a support. So should this support level give way, the first level of support comes in at this moving average. This is the 200 on the 4 hour. Then we have support here, and then we have support here. Although we have what looks like a zone, right? We have the first zone here between 160.35 and 160.00. So should any of these levels break, price might come down to this area. So for now, the EURAUD seems to be in a downtrend, except there is a correction of the impulse move down. So the next pair we're looking at is the GBPAUD. And look at it from the daily, close very, very, very small. You can see, but below this support area, you see the retest. There's a possibility it may come down towards this area. So next thing we look at is the GBPAUD. Look at the GBPAUD. So as you can see, this trend line here is holding, and this support zone. So there's just the potential that we might see price move back up. As you can see, just my review of yesterday, this area is giving it a bit of a challenge. So as long as it doesn't below this trend line, there's a tendency it might move higher. So this is what you may see on this page, something like this and something like this. If not, you wait for break, retest, and the move lower. So that's it for that pair. The next pair we'll be looking at is USDCAD. Look at the USDCAD, close bullish, broke this resistance zone. Some resistance area on the daily, broke bullish. The next pair, I go over to next chart is my zone chart. You can see it's deep in that area. So there's a potential that it may move up. If it closes above, it might head higher. It might head higher. So go down to my marked up chart. So this is a scenario. Sorry about that. This level here is support. That's this level here. Oh, sorry about that. Why am I not picking this up? Okay. Why is this switch? I want to change this. Continent. This place now might play as support. Might play as support. Then we have this other level. So if price comes below here, you might see something like this. Retest and they move lower. If this level gives way, then price may come down. Or else, see a retest and they move higher if this area holds as support. So the next pair we're looking at is the GBPCAD. As you can see, the GBPCAD is holding his support and trend line, holding both support and trend line. Well, basically, seems to have broken that trend line. And if I look at it this way, there is a rising trend line, you can see. Then I have a support. I have a support here. So you can see. Then I have interim resistance somewhere here. I have two resistance levels. I have two resistance levels. And this area. No, that's not it. So those are the two levels before this major levels here on this pair. No. I don't think this way I'm supposed to have done this. I'm not supposed to have done this here. This way I'm supposed to have done it. Sorry. This way I'm supposed to have done it here. And get rid of this. So this is what we have here. This is resistance and this is support. So that is it for our pairs for this night. Thank you all for coming. Anybody with any pair you want me to look at? Maybe any pair I didn't touch or one you want me to look at before I end the preview? Anybody with any charts? Okay. Someone is asking. NZD card. Wow. I call that pair an illegal pair. I don't touch it. But since you asked for it, let me look for it. Let me see if I'll find it. I wonder what you people look for in such pairs that you go to trade it. Well, what do I know? So, looking at the NZD card, let me see how he closed on the daily. Oh. This is a daily view. This is a bearish reversal pattern. This is a dark cloud on the daily time frame. And if you observe carefully, price closed below the daily 13. So this is bearish on its own. And let me look to the left to see if I have any level. So basically on this pair, you go down to the 4 hour. So we have support here. We have support here. Not like a support zone. We have a support zone here. We have a support zone. Why is this? So we have a support zone here. So if you look at this, they might be trying to do left head and right shoulder. So if price goes back below 87.90 to 87.78, the price is next first stop apart from this support is between this area and this area. So that's just about it for this pair. That's just about it. So please that it may. I hope the person who asked, then the resistance for this pair The first resistance you have is here. The first resistance you have is there. And the second resistance you have is on it. So that's this pair for you. Let me see if there's a trend line. If there's a trend line, let me see. Let me see if I can find a trend line. And then we have this. So that's it. So this is your pair. The person who asked for it, I hope you, let me copy it and send to you. So you can just keep it and look at it. So in the absence of any other question, or any other question, any other pair somebody would want me to look at, any other pair before I end the meeting and call it tonight. So in the absence of that, I wish you all a beautiful night's sleep and a blessed and fruitful trading day ahead. Thank you all for coming.